Perfect. All right, well, go. Let me know when you are ready for me to start, Kyla.
Okay, I believe that Ricky is recording. However, I'm still waiting on Elsie to.
Just want to be all right. Good morning. Thank you for joining us today for our 4th Family Engagement Workshop. My name is Sonia Samaniego, and I am the Family Engagement Coordinator here at the Arizona Commission for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing. Today, we are joined by a couple of representatives that are here to help us to learn more about 3 important A's that are for parents of deaf, hard of hearing, and deaf-blind children that are very important for them to know about. So assistive technology, accessibility, and accommodations are always those things that come up as families learn how to navigate the educational systems, home settings, different things as children continue to mature, and just looking at different access to different technology, different things that will assist them is so important. So the agencies that are represented today are the Arizona Technology Access Program, or AZTAP, and then the Arizona Telecommunications Distribution Program, or AZTEDP. And I apologize if I've left out things there. It's a mouthful. But before we get started, I want to make sure that cover a few items for today. We will have ASL interpretation, obviously. So if you need that, you can pin the interpreters just to make that easier for you. Also, we have captioning services. There will be live captioning here. And if you need to access the external link, that has also been placed in the chat for you. Now, if you need to access the Spanish interpretation, we have a bridge line that has also been placed in the chat for you. You can call in to access the presentation in Spanish. Okay, so all of those things are in the chat for you. And if you're not able to see them, please go ahead and let us know in the chat as well. Any questions or comments can be added to the chat, and then we'll have time at the end to be able to answer those questions for you. This presentation will also be available for later viewing on our YouTube page. So we'll go ahead and move forward with our presenters. Want to make sure we learn more about these wonderful programs and what they have to offer to individuals in our state who might be deaf or hard of hearing or deaf blind. What are those different programs and services that might be available to them? All right, so we'll start with the first question that I have for both of you, and we'll just start with Clayton first. Can you tell us a little bit about your agency, just a brief overview about the program and where you are located? So Clayton, I think you're on mute.
I was on mute. So, and I made a observation about 10 seconds ago that I was muted, and I still didn't unmute myself. So, Sonia, thanks for the introduction. My name is Clayton, and I'm the program director for the Arizona Technology Access Program. ASTAP, as we're known in the community, is essentially the state's assistive technology resource program. So everything we do is related to persons with disabilities, their family members, or rehabilitation providers accessing and obtaining and learning about assistive technology. So I can do kind of a brief overview of our major core programs just to give an idea of what we do with persons in the community. We are located here in Phoenix. Our main office is at 3rd Avenue and Indian School. We are part of Northern Arizona University, though, but we're still located here in Phoenix, and we serve the whole state out of our Phoenix office. There is a program like us in every state and the territories like Guam, Puerto Rico, Virgin Islands, all have programs like us. So we exist in different places in government in each state. Some states have programs that are not-for-profit organizations. Others exist as part of the state vocational rehabilitation system. And there are other programs like us that exist in the university system like we do in their respective states. So regardless of where someone lives, they can access a technology access or assistance program like ourselves. So our key focus is to work with people in the community, whether they be people with disabilities or their families or rehabilitation providers, with making decisions about assistive technology. So we do primarily we do equipment, assistive technology loans, device demonstrations. We have an alternative financing program for people to purchase assistive technology. We do some online reuse services to help used assistive technology get back into usage. And of course, we do lots of training and technical assistance on assistive technology. So those are our major core focus service programs.
Wonderful. Thank you for that overview there. That's really helpful. Some things I've already learned. So we'll go over to Vicki. And if you can just provide us with a brief overview of the program and the different things that are offered as well.
All right, well, thank you, Sonia. As for our agency, I am with the Arizona Commission for the Deaf and the Hard of Hearing. And I always say also the speech impaired. That would be really long. Specifically, I am with the Arizona Telecommunications Equipment Distribution Program. So just as the name implies, we distribute equipment to anyone who is in Arizona who qualifies as deaf, deafblind, hard of hearing, or speech impaired. I'm probably getting ahead of myself, but we are based in Phoenix, and Clayton's a good go-to. His agency and our agency, we oftentimes overlap because of various needs of clientele. And but the we provide, I mean, as far as the commission itself, with what we provide, we license interpreters, and we have a fabulous staff that helps with just about anything. And we've got such good experience that if we don't have an answer, we know someone who probably does. So the networking and information and referral is a big part of what we do. As far as demonstrations, coming out of COVID, everybody's, a little crazy with that, but sometimes that is the way to go. But we have served people incredibly well. Adapt and overcome when it comes to this whole virtual everything. So, but that's really where we're at, and go the extra mile. Everybody here does.
Wonderful. Thank you for that, Vicki. So Clayton, I'll go back to you. If you can just tell me a little bit more about individuals who are deaf, hard of hearing, or deaf blind. How might they be able to access your programs or your services that are available to them?
Sure. We serve everyone with every type of disability. As a cross-disability provider, making sure that everything we offer is accessible is very important to us. So folks have a range of options when it comes to getting in contact with us. Of course, a tremendous amount of information about our program, and our inventory of assistive technology is available at our website, which is always a good starting place for just about anybody that is wanting to learn more about us or how to access us. Of course, we're traditionally available through the traditional means of email and phone, of course. Some more specialized ways that we interact with folks, of course, they're welcome to contact us by relay, just a regular relay call. We can also accommodate, of course, a video relay call. For all of our materials, make sure that they're accessible on our website. We can offer AI captioning as well, and regular captioning if necessary for the person. Sometimes during regular visits with folks, we can use AI captioning, and that is sufficient to work with them. So if necessary, we can provide interpreting services. It just depends on the preference and what the person requires, but we will work diligently with them to get them in and involved and provide whatever communication strategy they need. So
That is so helpful. I really appreciate that. Lots of families, oftentimes are just fearful of not being able to communicate with the other person on the other side of the line. And so that's helpful to know that these services are definitely available. So I'll move over to Vicki. Vicki, if you're able to share as well how the commission is communicating with individuals who are deaf, hard of hearing, or deaf-blind, and making sure that they have access to the programs and services that we have to offer.
Yeah, so very much what Clayton said. I would like to duplicate that. Our website is a great source, being that I've broken things, how should I say, applications down into categories. It's just so much. We used to have everything together and people just got confused. So we've got a hard of hearing application, we've got a deaf application, speech impaired application, and then we do have the combined vision and hearing loss in a large print application, which I help me share getting that into the hands of those in the school. And as far as we are all over social media, how should I say, as far as the accommodations, I'm fluent in American Sign Language, or I consider myself to be. And so if people want to do VRS or direct video, I can certainly make that happen. And as far as the CART services, I consider myself a very good, clear speaker. So how should I say, a lot of my clients say, well, if everyone spoke like you, I wouldn't be hard of hearing. So, but really, when it comes down to it, the individual sometimes, but not always, can tell you what they need, but we can guide them along and make sure that that access is happening. And we've got enough experience to gauge people, to see if they are truly, getting what we are communicating, regardless of whether it's an email or face-to-face, whatever that kind of communication is. But we are very sensitive to making sure that languages are effective. And so and if they describe something that's not working, we find a way to do it. As far as the, I think we do pretty darn good. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you so much. That actually leads into the next question that we have. So Clayton, can you tell me a little bit more about the application process? Is there an application process that must be completed for your program?
no, there really isn't an application process, at least for our equipment or our assistive technology inventory. Our inventory, like I said, is available online, and people can go to our website and make assistive technology requests either to borrow a device or for a demonstration of a device or for just more information about that device or that piece of assistive technology. The only program that we have that has an official application is our financial loan program, where people are asking to borrow funds to buy some type of assistive technology. And we do have a loan application that is available on the programs page on our website that people can fill out and submit. But otherwise, we can work with most folks just by email or phone or whatever method of communication works best for them to get them in and get them started with our program.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. Now, Vicki, you mentioned your applications have now been broken down into accessible formats. So can you tell us a little bit more about the application process for the program?
Yeah, the application process, which it goes hand in hand with the criteria. So, but the application process itself, it is a printable application, and so people will, as far as criteria, which is the next question, but people will send it in to me via any means necessary. I've had them texted, emailed, mailed, faxed, you name it. They can get that to us however works for them. And as far as the process goes, granted, they may or may not need help choosing a device, a primary device, which would be the telecommunications device, or what we call a secondary or alerting device, which is going to be doing exactly that, alerting them to their telephone environment via flashes, vibration, that kind of thing, extra loud ringer. And so when I get that in there and everything's complete, then what happens typically is I will print a yellow voucher on cardstock paper and specific to that device or devices individually, and mail that to them with instructions on how to cash the voucher, which is simply to sign it, mail it to a vendor of choice. A list will be included, and then that vendor will ship it to them to use, and they can enjoy. That's the process.
Wonderful. That is so helpful. So I'll move on to the next one for Clayton. So in regards to the application process, again, is there certain criteria that has to be met to qualify for your distribution program? Many of our families in our state, we have a lot of families that are refugee families now, or families that may be undocumented. And so is there an eligibility process that the families have to go through before they can actually receive assistance through any of your programs?
In regards to our equipment programs, no, there are not really any criteria that needs to be met other than an interest in working with a piece of assistive technology. I will like to qualify, though, that our program is a little different than Vicki's, than the telecommunication distribution program, in that we like to get our equipment back so that we can make it available to other families. The purpose of our program is to make devices available to persons to try, to give them an idea of how it works, what features it has, what features it doesn't have. They get it for a set period of time, and then we ask for it back so that we can make it available to other folks. Whereas Vicki's program, on the other hand, if it works for them, they're able to keep it and use it. So that's the main difference. Of course, for our financial loan program, we do have some criteria that we need to follow for making financial loans with our lending partner to families to buy assistive technology. But otherwise, we lend equipment to just about virtually anybody in the community, whether they're a family member, a person with a disability, a rehab professional, to give them access to assistive technology. We do ask that each borrower sign an agreement accepting responsibility for the equipment, indicating that they understand that there's a due date. If the device breaks, they won't try to fix it on their own, et cetera. So we try to kind of set out the parameters of the loan and a borrower's agreement. But we don't require any special referrals or any copays or anything to access anything we have, just to have them sign that borrow agreement if they want to borrow something from us.
Wonderful. This is great. I'm learning so much just from having the both of you as well. Just clarify those differences in the programs. So essentially, a parent or an individual could actually reach out to Clayton and kind of, do a test drive possibly of something before they actually request it from Vicky. Is that what I'm understanding, that it possibly could be that? I mean, what if one item didn't work out for a parent? So.
It could, yeah. And we make an effort here at ASTAP to make sure that we have everything that I believe the telecommunication distribution program has an inventory. So if families do want to try something out, we can make it available to them. And for a parent, something like a Braille display is not that easy to find in the community to try, but we have several. So if they want to learn how a person accesses a computer or an iPhone or a tablet with a Braille display and a screen reader, then we can give them access to that and walk them through the basic features and let them take it and try it with their child to have them experience it. So they kind of get a hands-on idea of what does it mean to use a device in this way.
Great. This is wonderful. Thank you for that. And Vicki, does your program offer the information that's accessible to families in other languages or individuals online through video? How does that work?
As far as languages go, we use the Masterword for if folks call in via Spanish. I'm obviously English. We can do our communication that way. And of course, American Sign Language, if it's, I will often do calls in VP. I consider myself fluent, but I'm not an interpreter, clearly. So, and of course in print. And so yeah, all languages, yeah. And of course the Masterword does a variety of, I think almost every language on the planet. So regardless of, people tend to think of Spanish, but not just Spanish. So.
Sure, absolutely. We're definitely a diverse state. And so although Spanish is one of the main languages, we definitely have a lot of other cultures and families here. So just great to hear that it's accessible in other languages as well. So thank you for that. And Clayton, are you able to tell us, how the information is accessible, whether it's offered in other languages as well?
Sure. Like I mentioned, all of our documents on our website are accessible. We've made a lot of effort to make sure of that. All of our program brochures are available in Spanish as well. So we do are able to offer that. We do have one staff member that speaks Spanish. In addition, if we have more needs outside of that, then we use interpreting services for our Spanish language needs. All of our videos that we produce are captioned, and again, we make an effort to make sure of that. And as needed, if we need to produce something or have something available in ASL, then we do it as requested or as need. But overall, not everything that we have is available in ASL.
Great. Wonderful to know that these things are available in caption or ASL or large print in different languages. Always helpful for us as well. So as we are referring families and individuals to the different programs, whether or not we need to provide some additional assistance and support as well for the families. Some other questions that I have here that just came to mind as you guys are talking about things, you know, and these may not be things that you can answer, but just want to know, do either one of you have any idea, or do we know if the Toybrary that used to be available in the Phoenix Public Library to families, does that exist in our state still, or has it been relocated, or are you guys familiar with that at all?
I'm not familiar.
I do remember it. I'm not sure that it's an operation, but I actually talk fairly frequently to the director of services over at special needs services over at Burton Bar, and I can certainly find out. We, here at ASTAP, we have a pretty extensive inventory of adaptive toys and switch adapted toys and alternative access toys. So we could certainly probably fill the need here as well. So.
Okay, perfect. That's a good clarification. I know that it is a service that we often used to refer families to in the past, where it had the adaptable toys and different things, different textures and different print and that type of stuff. So that would be good to know that whether that's going to be in existence anymore, or if that is something that we can connect families to ASTAP as well. Okay, question for Vicky. What if a voucher is lost by an individual, whether it's a parent or just another individual who received the voucher? What happens then?
That does happen periodically. And so typically we would wait the 3 months to make sure it's not, lost in the mail, if it can show up, that kind of thing. And there have been times where I can provide them something from my inventory that will get us by until that happens. Worst case scenario is that I could print a new voucher with a new number, and therefore, they can go about it. And then when, we deal with the first one after the fact, and 99% of the time it's just gone. and I keep a sheet that keeps track of everything, and they just, like Houdini, disappear. But I make sure that they get what they need via the resources that I have typically.
Okay, wonderful. It happens. So just wondering, what is the plan for that? Or, I'm sure you've come across that a number of times as well. So thank you for that. And then Clayton, did you say that your services are statewide services?
Yes, we serve the whole state of Arizona out of our office here in Central Phoenix.
Okay, wonderful. And then are both of your programs available to any age? Or is there a start and an end?
No, we serve everybody, regardless of age.
Okay.
As for us, somewhere along the way, I believe we had 5 as the age as someone would be to use a telephone. We're talking to grandma and grandpa, young, that kind of thing. I will tell you this, that I think in my time here, I think the youngest person I served was probably 7. It's just not an issue for us. Not to say it couldn't be if word got out a little bit more. And of course the parent would apply on the child's behalf as their parent guardian.
Wonderful. Okay, another question that's coming up here. Clayton, can you describe the Arizona loans for assistive technology?
Sure. That's our alternative financing program where we make low interest, flexible financial loans with flexible lending terms to persons with disabilities and families to buy assistive technology of all varieties. Our loan amounts range from $100 up to $20,000, although we can do loans greater than $20,000 on a case-by-case basis, but $100 to $20,000 is our basic range. Like I mentioned earlier, we do have an application available at our webpage for the program that families can download and fill out. Basic information that we need is the application, a price quote for the assistive technology that they're wanting to purchase, and if they have an income, proof of income, and a copy of identification are the basic things that we asked for an application. We have a loan review committee that meets monthly and reviews applications. Then we make a decision on either approving or denying the loan. And if we approve it, then Marisol Federal Credit Union actually makes the loan to the families or the person. So as a program, we have funds on deposit with the Arizona Community Foundation that backs up the loans for Marisol in the event of a default. So it's a no risk loan for them. So as loans are repaid, then the funds are kept in the program. So we lend at a reduced interest rate. Right now it's 4.5%. So for items like hearing aids and putting it on a credit card, we can be a much better, more affordable option for something like that. So when you compare most manufacturer lending programs or credit cards, you're going to have a hard time beating a 4.5% interest rate. So we're very proud of that. So we can give folks access to funds to buy whatever assistive technology, so they don't have to wait on a third-party funding source like Folk Rehab or any of the usual suspects. We can help them get the funds on a quicker basis and take control of what they need or what they need to get.
Wonderful. This is great information. Couple of other questions here for us. What are some of the most effective tools that your programs are, as you start to expand, or you might see, more children needing the equipment? Are you finding that there is one specific thing that is used more in standard classrooms, or not as much, that could be something we could continue to outreach? Vicki, anything on your end?
We just, for as much as we've outreached to children in schools, we just do not have that big of a, I do not have applications, stacked up for kids. So I'm hoping that this will, by golly, get out there. So I guess what I could potentially see as the telecommunications program really benefiting folks would be our assistive, our Bluetooth hearing devices, because kids are young getting phones, or even if they use their parents' phone, whatever the case may be, their household phone is regardless of if it's a landline, but most folks are going to, a smart device or cellular regardless. So I can see the amplified Bluetooth devices for that hard of hearing population. Plus the big one would be those alerting devices. If kids are in their environment, how are they going to navigate their environment, whether hard of hearing or deaf? I see that as something that really needs to the word needs to spread about what we provide in that regard.
Great. Yes, that is helpful. Clayton, do you see anything on your end that is being requested more often than not, or?
Yeah, for kids and the classroom, we do run the assistive technology lending program for the Department of Education Exceptional Student Services. So we have a dedicated staff member and inventory for that program here at our Phoenix office. And essentially, this program just lends devices to schools and charter schools to be able to try assistive technology with students in the classroom. Probably our biggest interest items for those programs are speech generating devices for kids. For kids with hearing impairments, we work a lot with hearing aid and FM related technology to help improve communication in the classroom. For kids with blindness, low vision, we work a lot with screen reader and Braille, refreshable Braille, excuse me, access for the curriculum. So, and for folks with learning disabilities, we work with a lot of AT related to dyslexia and text to speech and speech to text. So those are probably our biggest core areas for school requests and across those needs.
That's wonderful to hear that, that is in collaboration with the Arizona Department of Education. I know that those are a lot of the calls as well that I receive, so very helpful. Do you, to have that background information as well, that we can refer families directly to your program. Okay. I've got a couple other questions here in regards to that. Are you finding that there are barriers to individuals that may not have Bluetooth or Wi-Fi? As technology continues to improve, we often kind of leave others out that don't have access. And so do you find that your equipment or your programs might be inaccessible to certain individuals if they don't have access to Bluetooth or Wi-Fi?
No, because we provide it. So if a family comes to us and doesn't have Wi-Fi at home and wants to use a device with Wi-Fi, we provide a hotspot with that device to give them access to that. In regards to Bluetooth, most of the time, if they have really any type of technology, they're going to have Bluetooth built into it and the ability to work with it. Our biggest challenge sometimes is families with Android phones. Android can get challenging for us to work with sometimes, especially the accessibility features, just because there's so many different types of Android phones and operating systems that there's very little uniformity between them. Whereas with the Apple products, you get more uniformity. So usually we run into more challenges with the Android operating systems and getting things to work on those platforms, especially for the lower cost Android products. Not as much the Google Pixels and the Samsungs, the fancier Android phones and tablets, but the lesser expensive things can be more challenging for us. But we do what we can to provide them access to what they need to use a piece of assistive technology.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. Vicki, anything to add to that from your end as far as challenges?
Well, I'm an iPhone girl, so that, but I've had to touch some Androids over the years, and you kind of validated my my frustrations. As far as leaving people behind with Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, it's not the case with us because a lot of our senior citizens and the older folks it's landline, and that's what they've had since the dawn of time, and that's probably what they'll end up with forever. And so we provide those. We've got several cordless phones. Oftentimes people like the mobility of that. with or without caller ID, depending on vision. We can have a variety of what would be traditional landline telephones and alerting systems. So no, they are not left behind in regard to AZTEDP. No.
Great. Wonderful to have those alternatives. Always helpful. As we know, we have many areas across our state that don't have access to Wi-Fi, maybe in our tribal areas or oftentimes in other areas that just don't have that access. So that is wonderful to know there are alternative options as well. Okay, just looking here at the questions that are coming through, and this is all wonderful. Do either one of you know of any upcoming conferences that would be helpful for parents to attend? Any other ways that we can really outreach the information for parents to have maybe some hands-on or some opportunities to see these things in action somewhere?
Yeah, probably one of the biggest things that's coming up that a lot of families may not know about is the Abilities Expo is coming back to Phoenix on September 9th, 10th, and 11th. And that's a wonderful opportunity to take a look at a lot of disability related products, including some assistive technology products. So that's something they may want to check out online.
Wonderful. Anything else, Vicki, that you would like to add or that you know of?
And again, focusing on hearing and speech, I just don't have the wide scope that Clayton does. And so I don't have anything to add. I will tell you this, that the TEDP community throughout the United States, and I think there are many 35, 40 of us states that participate. We get together, I would say almost every year. It's not a COVID challenge. And we share all sorts of stuff in regard to the telecommunications. So we're always sharing. We have our little network online. And so not really a conference for parents, so to speak, but they get the benefit in a roundabout kind of way. So.
Great, great. Definitely some things to think about for us to be, possibly presenting or accessible. Do either one of you attend the transition conference or anything like that to have, an exhibit for families? Is that something that either one of you are present for?
Yes, we do. For the transition conference this year, Mike Buckley, our ADE for the Department of Ed staff member, will attend and participate in that event. He's presenting there and manning a program table there. So yeah, we're involved with the transition conference. So
wonderful, wonderful. Good way to reach our youth for sure, making sure that they know as they transition as well what some of those things are available to them. And Vicki, do you know if the AZTEDP program is part of the transition conference, or has that occurred before in the past?
Reaching back over the past couple of decades, yes. I want to say that sounds like a conference that we have had participation in. In the future, I would love for us to attend that again. My daughter's 19. And if she had a challenge like that, I would certainly, want someone advocating for her and helping me, figure out the waters, so to speak. So I'm guessing we may make that a point to do that again. I hope so.
Sure, wonderful, absolutely. And as you said, our youth need that assistance in figuring out how to, they're considered an adult at a certain age, and a lot of times they just need that additional support, especially when there might be some differing abilities and need access to different things. So really just thinking of how we can continue to have this information accessible to families and youth and children across our state. So I think this is great. I do have one last question for either one of you. Clayton, I'm going to ask you specifically because Vicki has said Clayton has everything. But I definitely don't want to leave Vicky out. I want to know, again, what is offered through our programs. But when a family is in the need of an AAC device or something that might have to actually be, they might have to be approved for through a DDD program or something else, is this something that a family can have a test run of, come to your program to get some assistance while they're in the waiting?
Absolutely, yeah. And sometimes while they're waiting is the best time to access us, because the reality is a lot of times families are not fully prepared for what they're asking for, and we can help them be better prepared for that evaluation process. Families don't have a lot of information about speech generating devices and really what they are and what they do and the work and effort that they take. So if a family comes to us before the eval, we can give them access to devices to give them, what are some of the usual suspect devices that, their child may need, and it's AAC is, or augmentative and alternative communication, is very individualized, but for the most part, we can give them an idea of different devices that might be a fit for their child and give them more information about the feature sets of each of those devices. And then we can work with them to develop the questions to ask the evaluators, because so often families don't even know what to ask during the eval or what to take into consideration. So we can help them, access devices and come up with those questions so they go into the eval better prepared to find what their child's going to need, and really also to start understanding that, wow, this device is a lot of work, because families get them, it shows up in a box on the kitchen table and they're like, okay, what now? So it's a lot to kind of dive into for families.
That's great to know. That is definitely great to know. Vicki, do you get any requests for those types of devices? Just curious if, you've had to redirect families or.
No, not. I don't even get any inquiries for those. If I would, I'd refer them to Clayton. Yeah, that's not. Yeah, I would be remiss trying to get, no.
Okay. That's good to know. Looks like I have another one, a little bit more. Can you tell me a little bit more about this device, Clayton, as you mentioned? So Vicky's not getting a whole lot of those requests, but as you get those requests, can you tell me a little bit more about how this would assist our families with children who are deafblind?
I'm sorry, I don't follow the question. Did you reference a specific device?
The AAC devices. As you're walking families through that, can you tell me a little bit more about how this might assist our deafblind children?
Sure. Well, an AAC device encompasses, or AAC in general, encompasses a broad range of tools to either allow to augment a person's communication abilities or to allow for another strategy to communicate. So it's a broad range of options. A speech generating device does generally have features that makes it accessible to folks with vision loss or hearing impairments. So there are some accessibility settings that can be set up. However, for an individual that's deaf-blind, a speech generating device may not be the best fit. There might be some more specialized technology that may be needed, that has a refreshable braille display or some tactile type of interface. There might be some other strategies. Generally individuals may use some type of hand signing or something along those lines. So there might be a more specialized kind of communication system there that would need to put in place. At that point, we may work with the families on the I Can Connect program or something like that to take a look at other more tactile based communication systems. Yeah.
Wonderful. This is great information. I'm just looking back here at my questions that are coming through. Okay. And Vicky, anything specific to deafblind individuals or deafblind families that you might think would be a great assistance to them that doesn't really get noticed or people don't really know that you have to offer?
Well, I guess I would also partner with Julie Stylinski, our deafblind combined vision and hearing loss specialist. And looking at the people that I serve, which just by nature is a lot of elderly folks. Those folks who have had everything their whole life, and now they're losing their vision, they're losing their hearing. So that's the way I approach things, because that's who I serve. And so a lot of them, it's the big button amplified phone, you know. Not to say that we couldn't, you know, add some of what, you know, Clayton's talking about with the various devices. That's, you know, something to be discussed. But primarily, and a lot of, again, with the combined vision and hearing loss, not necessarily complete deafblindness, is a lot of what we get people to, I guess, would be the large visual display captioned telephone. You know, I had one lady who wanted to project it up on the wall. You know, so I, you know, again, those are internet, which we help folks with. But that's really kind of my perspective and experience. Not to say that things, you know, couldn't be opened up in a different direction.
Sure, yeah. This is great information, always helpful to see how, you know, families are, you know, what is getting requested more and not really, you know, being used. And as technology continues to change and evolve, it's also helpful to see what are some of those devices that, you know, can be utilized in different ways and others that, you know, may not be able to or may need to be, you know, kind of modified for that assistance. So I really appreciate all this information. This is so helpful for families. And I will definitely be in touch with both of you to see how we can continue to get this information out to parents. This will be posted on our YouTube page for families to access at a later point. And Clayton, if there's anybody specific that you would like me to put as far as contact information, or if you are the main guy, we can certainly make sure that that contact information is accurate as we you know, send out any updates on this you know, presentation as well.
Okay, I will email that to you, Sonia, because
Okay.
yeah, there's more efficient ways to contact us than going through me. So
Wonderful. Thank you so much for your time. And Vicky, I know where you are. So if there's anything that you would like me to share, please feel free to send that information my way and we'll definitely follow up with this. Thank you again so much. Have a wonderful day.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.